Hello everyone, this is Simon from Carnation. Today I'm here to talk about one of the main inspirations for my vocals and for part of the sound of Carnation, which is Mikael Åkerfeldt, which is the frontman of Opeth and also previously the frontman of Bloodbath.
This is a new selection in the series. Nobody has touched on Opeth or Bloodbath just yet. And boy, does that open up a lot of things for us to talk about. How did you discover him? What was it? Oh, Opeth is a really big name and you delved in and you went back into his old stuff, or did you grow up with his music?
It's not one of the bands that I grew up with, I would say. I think I was already listening to metal for quite some time before I discovered Opeth. I do know exactly in which year and on which album I discovered the band. It was in 2008 when they released the album Watershed. That's when I first discovered Opeth, and also soon after I discovered Bloodbath in the same year as well. Or was it the year after that I discovered Bloodbath? I'm not quite sure about that, but around the same time. So it was in 2008, and I was already listening to metal for many years at that point. But I somehow discovered the album Watershed because it came out in 2008, and I remember listening to it for the first time and being impressed with the different kind of elements that were on this album. Some Opeth songs have purely death metal vocals, other songs have purely clean vocals, but there's a lot of mixing as well, and that's really cool. There's a lot of different elements to their sound, and that was the first thing that really intrigued me with Opeth, and specifically also with Mikael, because of the different types of vocals he can do.
It's an interesting time to get to know Opeth in their career with that album, because on that album a lot of the proggy classic rock influence are starting to happen, but we're not completely at heritage just yet.
True, yeah.
So when Heritage came out after that album, that was like all of a sudden they split their audience into between people that were like, oh, I love what they're doing, or this is not for me anymore. Especially if we know that, in the late 90s and the early 2000s, when, Blackwater and all that kind of stuff, they some of their biggest proggy death metal classics, and all of a sudden we have a prog rock band. Unapologetically, I think that I saw Opeth play Grass Pop that year, so when they released Heritage, and it was a pure clean set almost, and the audience was very divided. How was that for you? Like, you just discovered this band, you like the fact that they're a little adventurous. Were you along for the ride, or were you like, I'm not too sure about this?
I can remember when Heritage came out. At that time, I was quite disappointed because of the change. But now, like many years later, Heritage was released in 2011, I think, and now we're like 12 years later already. So now I can actually really appreciate also the newer material. I try to not view it the same way as like the previous albums.
Okay.
To me, Opeth has like three different eras. You have the first three albums, or maybe the first four, but like the fourth one already was going more into the second era, but like the first three have like a very distinct sound. There's even some kind of like a black metal feeling here and there. And then you have the middle section of the middle era of Opeth, and that's like from like Still Life until like Watershed, which is in my opinion the last one of this era. And then the new one with Heritage going up until now is like the third era, where they have really a distinct difference in their sound. And I actually can appreciate all three different eras, but I consider them, I don't try to compare them too much to each other, because I can clearly hear that like Mikael wanted to do something completely different at those moments in time, or he met someone new that clearly influenced his sound, that really changed it up. So at that time in 2011, of course, I was disappointed because it was new for me, and I was really digging that second era of Opeth, the Blackwater Park albums and stuff. But now I can clearly see, after so many albums of that sound, he really wanted to change it up. So.
So if we go into your first pick for a specific song that stands out for you, are we going to find that on the album that made you discover Opeth, or are we going in a very different direction?
No, I'm going to choose the song that made me discover them. Like but the favorite song for me on the Watershed album is actually Heir Apparent. It's the second song. I think it's a really awesome song. It's the song that introduced me to it, so it probably convinced me a lot to listen to them. It's actually one that has a lot of death metal vocals and less the clean vocals, but after I listened to Heir Apparent, the other songs on the album showcased me like the other style that he could do, and that's really what grew on me eventually. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now we obviously, with the new Carnation album, we see you experiment in that direction yourself. Something that, given that you say that, well, I discovered the band that way and they were always hugely influential. I mean, does that mean that if you're honest, you would have wanted to do more of this earlier already, or what made you take this release to explore your own style in many different angles?
Well, for Carnation, originally Mikael was mostly or the most influence that Mikael had on me was because of his death metal sound that he had in his voice. I really liked the sound that he had as a singer specifically. And I used to listen to his vocal sound a lot to reference my own sound and like to see what I wanted to change up for mine. Like if I wanted to make it lower or like focus more on articulation and stuff. That's been a big reference for me. But I always also enjoyed the clean vocals, but it was just something that I was not very strong at that time. I knew at some point if there was an opportunity to include it in the sound, then I would have liked to do it. I knew also that the other guys in the band were open to this idea. But it was not the initial idea behind the band Carnation. It was something, at that time we were very much into like the old school death metal, and also in Bloodbath and in Opeth as well, of course. But at that time we really wanted to do the old school thing, and I knew like maybe this can grow. It's the same way that like Opeth grew into different things, into something completely different in like 5 or 10 years. But that was something I really did not foresee, of course, at that moment in time. Yeah.
I mean, we already mentioned it before. I mean, Mikael has done many things. He's been a guest on many things as well. But we also have Bloodbath. Which is one of the most praised death metal projects or super bands in history. When did they come in the picture for you? And is one of your 3 songs a Bloodbath song?
Yes, it's one of the things Bloodbath was. I discovered them like a little bit later as Opeth. I think like half a year later, maybe a year later. I'm not sure. I remember actually seeing them live one time with Mikael, and they didn't do a lot of shows with Mikael, so that was a lucky occurrence, I would say. But the release I've chosen for my favorite Bloodbath release is actually the small EP, the Blessing the Purity EP that they released like I think a couple of months before the Fathomless Mastery, so a couple of months before the second full Mikael album that they did. And why do I choose this EP is because I think it has Opeth has the best Bloodbath has the best mix on that record compared to anything else they have ever done. My opinion, the sound is so awesome. It sounds on one hand it sounds old school, but it also has a lot of punch. It's also has like a tinge of modernness to it. His vocals sound really cool, and like the songwriting is also really great. So this EP really is my favorite, and we often like check it out or like use it as a reference to like maybe for our own stuff, like when we're recording, like does it sound like Unblessing the Purity, or does it have something there like a reference point? So yeah, that's definitely the release that I'm most fond of for Bloodbath.
I mean, also iconic cover art of that EP with like that was the priest with a pig face or something like that. And maybe like the link to draw the link back to, let's call it the first age of Carnation. Bloodbath, a lot of blood dripping from that logo, a lot of blood dripping from you always. So visually also inspirational for you?
Well, less so. It wasn't really because I don't think they used to do that stuff live back then, or maybe it's very occasionally. And I feel like with Carnation we were doing that visual thing before they started doing it a lot with like Nick Holmes right now. So yeah. I think they did it for the
maybe they just saw you guys and now they're inspired by Carnation.
I doubt it. I know they did it for like the Wacken Carnage DVD, but I don't think they did it like for every show back then. They didn't play a lot of live shows back then, so it's kind of hard for me to figure that out.
Obviously, you've got a third song that you want to talk about. So, are we going back to Opeth? Are we staying with Bloodbath? Are we going in a completely different region?
For the third one, I had to really think a lot if I wanted to go for Bloodbath or Opeth. I was thinking like the Fathomless Mastery from Bloodbath is also like, if I have to choose a full album from Bloodbath, it will be that one for me. I think it has the coolest songs. Is the best structures. Is also the closest to the Unblessing the Purity EP, in my opinion. It feels like those songs are from the same writing cycle, but they were just released on a different. But eventually, I actually chose for the classic, or like the really big Opeth record, like Blackwater Park, because I think it's without a doubt the classic of Opeth. It has most of the memorable songs, a lot of the songs that they play live often. So. Yeah, I think that I would choose that as my third favorite release by Mikael Akerfeldt. Yeah.
Let's go back to Carnation because you guys are releasing let's call it the first release of the new age of Carnation. We've seen some changes. You guys allow yourself to be a little bit more adventurous in your sound, a little bit more, or a little bit less, maybe a little bit more surprising. You've released a couple of singles already, but there's still a lot of surprises coming on this album for the listener. The release is not too far anymore from us. So how are you feeling right now? Like, what's the excitement level underneath the calm surface?
Well, I'm very excited. I mean, we're really counting down until the release date at the moment. It's been very hectic these last few months because the promotional cycle, it's been a lot of work. We've released 5 music videos in quite a short span leading up to the album. So it's been quite busy the whole year already. And we're just so excited to get the album out and like to see what people think of the whole record. Yeah, I mean, it's fun, it's exciting. It's also a little bit stressful because we're like, I mean, it won't affect us what people think about it, but we're of course interested to find out and see if they get the idea that we had for the album, that they see the evolution, how it went and stuff. So yeah, we're curious to find out.
You'll find that out very, very up close and personal when you go on the road and play these play these songs, these new songs. There's been some shows announced already. There's going to be some festivals as well. For everybody watching this video, like, what should we keep our eyes open for and our fingers crossed for from a show perspective in 2024?
So we have quite a lot of stuff planned already. So first, this year still in November, we got a multiple release shows going on. So we got a release show in Belgium, we got a release show in the Netherlands, and also one in Germany. So those will happen in November. I think the 3rd in Belgium, the 9th in the Netherlands, and the 24th in Germany, if I'm correct. And then the next year in 2024, we will have quite a lot of festivals already planned, and we're also working on touring plans at the moment. So if everything works out, which is a big if, then we'll be playing a lot of shows next year. Definitely a lot of shows. But it's always it ain't certain until it's certain, I would say. So
exactly.
I'm not going to drop something here until I receive the words.
No worries.
It's confirmed.
Simon, to wrap us up, a different question. Mikael, I know one of his biggest inspirations has always been ABBA. If we were to ask you about a band or an artist that inspired you, but that we wouldn't expect from you if we know Carnation, what artist do you really like that people would not think of?
That's a difficult question. What artist would people not expect? I mean, I listen to so much different kinds of music. I listen to I listen to pop music even, or funk music from the 70s and the 80s. So I think, what would be a good pick?
One eternity later.
Yeah, I know a good pick. I know there's this American singer, and she's called Banks.
Okay.
And she's an artist I really like to listen to. Well, specifically the first album that she released, which I think is self-titled album, or maybe it's called Goddess. I'm not even sure if it's a title or not. Goddess is definitely a song on the album. And the reason I like this artist so much because she has a very dark sound.
Mm-hmm.
I like the electronic elements on the album. It's very chill and smooth to listen to, and it's good music for me to wind down to. I don't think anyone would expect me to listen to that. I've even seen her live twice now. I think she played a couple of times in Belgium, and enjoyed very much. But
there you go.
I have to say, I'm more fond of the earlier releases. So yeah.
Awesome. And I will confirm to you that Goddess is the name of the album.
Okay, cool.
There you go. Awesome. Well, Simon, it sounds like we're going to have a lot of opportunities to see you guys play next year, which is super exciting. And I wish you guys all the best with the release of this, important release for the band. And super excited for everybody to listen to the full album, not just the 5 singles that have been released already. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend. You're almost done your Friday, I think, at this point. And I'll see you soon at a show somewhere.
Yeah, see you soon, man. Thank you for the interview.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.